Okay, looks like I'm live now. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry, I am like 2 minutes late here, but I was just wrapping up watching all of these semifinals. I have really enjoyed having semifinals back, being able to watch all of them. I know we had some semifinals in person last year, but we just didn't have all of it like we do now. There's just so much to watch, and it's so exciting to get to see all these athletes in person. I know Bailey Rail was at this week's event. She was at the MACC and she made it to the games, and she made it to the games last year, and we didn't get a chance to see her at all because she did it through a qualifier event that was all virtual. So it was just something we were trying to keep up with through the computer, through the leaderboard, and now we get to actually watch all of it in person. And I've been really excited about getting to do that. And I'm excited about getting to look through it all and review it all with all of you here. And if you have a comment, please leave it. Again, my name is Amanda. This is my YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. I have a bunch of other videos on here, some other things previewing semifinals. I'll be doing more semifinals content all through semifinals. And I have a lot of vlogs of my training if you're interested in that, or if you just want something to help motivate you as a more regular athlete and not as a, if you're not a competitor at the level of these elite athletes and can't compare to them, you can watch some of my videos and compare to me, just a person who, has a full-time job and does all of this on the side for fun. I would love it if you join me here and subscribe, but let's get into semifinals. Let's jump right into that. I'm able to share my screen with you so we can take a look at the leaderboard and see exactly what went down. So I will show you that. Okay. Here is our leaderboard. You should be able to see that now. I'm starting out with the men's side on the MACC because I literally just watched this moments ago, and this was a really interesting competition. I really enjoyed the MACC this weekend. There was a lot of moving around, a lot of shuffling through the bottom half of the leaderboard, the bottom half of those qualifying spots, and also just some really impressive performances at the top. I was very impressed by Saxon Pancheck. I did a preview stream earlier this week on Thursday, and Jackson, the person I did the stream with, mentioned that he was excited to see Saxon. I was also excited to see Saxon. He won a semifinal last year, I believe, but I didn't expect him to come in and be this dominant. Just from the start of the weekend, that fifth place finish on the Barbell Complex for a smaller guy, I was really impressed by that. Yes, he's strong. Yes, he has pretty good technique, but you're just mass moves mass. And he's not an athlete with a ton of mass. His brother Scott has done amazing at the games before, so I probably shouldn't have underestimated him. But 325 is a big number. Fifth is a great place to start. The Barbell Complex event, I've noticed so far while watching semifinals, has been an outlier a little bit for a lot of the athletes. There's many of the athletes you see, like last week with Haley Adams, who finished, I believe, 23rd in the Barbell Complex. You just don't know how well they're going to do on that. You could finish 23rd and still come in first. So it's an outlier event. You can have specialists who are very good at that and aren't as good as the CrossFit. But Saxon, he was good at the complex and obviously good at the CrossFit. You can see he won 3 out of the 6 events, finishing with 540 points out of a max of 600. He just did really well all across the board. I mean, he kind of walked in on that last event well ahead. It looks like 13 seconds ahead of Noah Olson, who finished second. It just wasn't even a race. I'm excited to see Saxon at the games this year. He's working with Proven, and Tia-Clair Toomey is their biggest athlete. So I think we can assume that he has the right people around him to push him and make him a really, really great competitor. And maybe he could push Justin Medeiros. Like, I've talked to some people who like seeing these people dominate year after year, like we saw Matt do, like we see Tia doing. And it is super impressive, and I do enjoy it as well. But I think I enjoy it more when we have more of a race. So I would love to see Saxon come in and, of course, push for a podium spot, but maybe push to get that top podium spot. And this weekend, he looked really good, maybe better than Justin last weekend. So maybe there's a shot of it. let's hope he didn't peak for this weekend, because as someone who did as well as he did all season, as well as he did in the Open, as well as he did in quarterfinals, this is really just a box he has to check. Doing the semifinals, making it to the games. I think his end goal should be the games, and hopefully that's how he's peaking. Proven's a great program. Shane Orr knows what he's doing. I'm sure they've got it all figured out, but I'm excited to see him at the games. Dallin Pepper just missed the games last year. He is young. I believe he's 20, maybe he's 21. Let's see if I open this up. He's 20. So he is young, up and coming, much bigger than Saxon. We can compare here, 180 to 215. But I'm excited to see him at the games. It was disappointing to see him miss out last year. He was a teen winner, and now he's making his way back, playing with the big boys now. And he did well across the board, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th. I mean, if you get places like that, mostly in the top 5 throughout the entire weekend, you have a good chance of making it to the games. And he's going to be at the games, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Cole Sager finishing 3rd. I believe when we talked about him in our preview show, he's been to every game since 2014. I believe that's true about Noah Olson as well. So these are guys that you should just expect to make it. Noah Olson started off with a rough weekend, but Cole did what Cole does. He just stayed consistent all weekend. Probably wasn't the top athlete people were talking about, but he did well throughout all the events. Very much like Pepper, where he just was consistent throughout all of them, didn't win any of them, but did well throughout, and punched his ticket again for his, I believe that would be his 8th games. So awesome for Cole. Awesome to see him still there doing well. I believe he's a Spirit of the Games winner. He's always just a good competitor and seems like a good guy to be out there. I mentioned Noah. That 19th place finish on the first event really hurt him. He failed, I believe, his second 2 of 3 attempts on that Barbell Complex, which surprised me. I believe he took 2 attempts at 320 and missed both. He made 305, which put him at 19th. That's a deep hole to dig yourself out of. And he did. I mean, he came in and got 3rd on Midline Sadness, so that's pretty good. And then he ended today with 2 back-to-back seconds. Those are good performances, and that got him up into 4th. And if you look at the point spread here, he really wasn't in that much danger of falling out of the top 5. So it started out rough. It was a little rough on the second day because he came in with a 10th on that regionals event from 2014. But then it was a 4th, 2nd, and those are all really good finishes. So Noah's going to be back to the games. Rough start, but hopefully he irons things out for Carson. He's kind of one of those athletes that's constantly in a fight for the podium, and maybe he can do it again this year. I believe he's been on the podium once before. But maybe he can do it again. And number 5, who we also talked about in our preview show, was Spencer Pancheck. And that's Saxon's twin brother. I believe this is his first trip to the games, punching his ticket next to his brother, which was awesome to see. He came in to this final event not in it. He wasn't in the top 5, and he had to make up ground there and finishing 3rd. That's a really solid finish. And unfortunately, Tyler Christoffel out of Mayhem fell apart on that last event, was getting a lot of no reps at the end there, and that was what helped Spencer and knocked Tyler out. The nice thing for Tyler is his season's not over. He's still in those last chance qualifier spots. So he has an opportunity to still make it back to make it to the games and still do well. So it was a really disappointing finish, because if you look at Tyler and the rest of his scores, it's 5th, 7th, 8th, 11th, 6th, and then a 19th. So this was really a worst case scenario for him. Sometimes that happens. He's got Rich Froning in his corner, so I'm sure he'll be able to pick himself up and, dust himself off for the last chance qualifier. I think the last chance qualifier makes things really exciting, gives an opportunity for these athletes that are just on the outside looking in to have another chance to actually get in. And it gives us one more thing to look forward to. After all these semifinals are over, then we have that last chance qualifier, and just an exciting time. And last year we had Christy O'Connell get in out of the last chance qualifier, and then I believe she finished in the top 10 at the games. So just because you didn't qualify out of the regular semifinal doesn't mean that you can't make waves when you get to Carson. 2 people will come out of that last chance qualifier and will have just as much, if not more, earned their chance to compete there, having competed in 2 events just to get there. So he still has a shot. Hopefully he can take advantage of it. Now we'll move over to the women. But the men, this was an exciting race. And the women also, though, was really exciting. So on the top of the leaderboard, we have Danielle Brandon. And I'll just say that I was a little disappointed with her day one and her start. And I feel bad saying that because she's ending with 532 points. That is a lot of points out of 600. Not quite as many as Saxon. I believe he had 540, but that's still a huge amount of points. She's still, I mean, if you look at every one of her scores after that first event, she killed it. But that first event, like I've said every time I've talked about this, that Barbell Complex tends to be an outlier. I did expect her to be a little stronger. She is a strong athlete, so I thought she was going to hit a heavier weight than what she did. She hit 210, and that got her a 13th place finish. I think I just expected her to come in and maybe dominate from the start. And while she did dominate, it just wasn't after that first event. And I will definitely say that I was mistaken, thinking that she wasn't doing well and that maybe there was something she wasn't telling us, like an injury or something going on, because she smashed the rest of the event. She finished with 3 first place finishes. She had a fantastic semifinals. I'm really excited to see her in Madison. I think she made waves last year and she was stuck working out in the corner all by herself because of COVID protocols. And who knows what she can do when she's with the field, looking right and looking left and being able to see the people next to her and push even harder. She did amazing this weekend, just absolutely blew everyone out. Well, she beat Sydney by 20 points, but first in her last 3 events, that's insane. And that MACC mile event just had everyone on the ground, falling over. It was insane to watch. It kind of looks a little bit fun to take on, which probably means that I'm a little messed up just to even want to do that. But it kind of looks like a fun event. I was a little jealous of all of them lying on the floor dead. But she won that, and she won the last 3 events. Really impressed with her. Moving on to Sydney, she did really well as well. She was sitting in first, I believe, definitely after the first day and possibly after the second day as well. She came out and she looked great all around. And she has pretty good finishes here: 2nd, 6th, 1st, 10th, 5th, 4th. I think I expected this to be a battle between Danielle and Brook all weekend, and it ended up being mostly Sydney on her own until Danielle really hit the gas and took over. But Sydney is very impressive. Last year was her first year at the games. This will be her second one. She's 22 years old, still super young. She's out of CrossFit New England. She's been working out down there with them. I think that's where she's kind of positioned herself right now, and she's doing pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure Cole Sager is still possibly with Ben Bergeron as well. But I know he works out a lot on his own because he doesn't live in New England. But there's good people out there. I know Chandler Smith, who we'll see next week at the Granite Games, I believe. He's working out there. So she's got some good competition that she's working with every single day. And I think it really showed. And she's, like I said, young, 22, and killed it. So really excited to see her when she heads to Madison as well. Bailey Rail, I mentioned her at the beginning because she got in last year. I believe it might have been through the Atlas Games. I'm not sure, but it was an online event, completely online and virtual. And we didn't really get to see her perform until she went to Madison, where she did very well. But we didn't get to see her do it. So it's exciting to actually get to see her. And she held her own with a lot of these women. And she's one of the smaller athletes. If we take a look, she's 135. So she's a lighter athlete. And she finished 13th in that Barbell Complex. And that's solid. Like Danielle Brandon finished 13th as well. And she weighs 155, 20 pounds. Mass moves mass, like I said earlier. And they did the same weight. So I think that says a lot about Bailey and how she's doing. And she's another CrossFit Mayhem athlete working out in Cookeville, Tennessee. And I think that having all those great people around you really pushes you to be better. Like if she's working out with Haley Adams, who's a fantastic athlete, and you're being beat by Haley, you may feel like, oh, I'm not doing great, but that's somebody who's a podium contender every year. So you're really being pushed to be better than the field because you're working out with the best in the field. So I'm excited to see how Bailey does at the games. And we have so many different movements, so many different events. Like this is just 6 events. And after the Barbell Complex, it's pretty much more true CrossFit, where at the games we have some single modality events. So it'll be exciting to see how she does there. Brook Wells. Now that may be one of the biggest events of the weekend. She just she was very emotional when she finished the weekend. She kind of had some ups and downs. She finished 7th on the Barbell Complex with 2:15. That was good. Put her in the running, put her in the mix with everybody else. Then a first in the midline sadness. So was really doing great after day 1. And that 7th place finish in the Barbell Complex was great because she's got that elbow that she just had surgery on 9 months ago. So in fact, she got 2:15 overhead. It was as much as I'm sure she could ask for. I'm sure she was very happy with that performance, even though it was only 7th and not, say, 1st. And then a first on midline sadness. That's a great position. You're going into day 2 with a 1st and a 7th. I believe she was tied for 1st going into day 2. Then we hit that regional event from 2014, the legless rope climbs, and she finished 24th. And that is a lot of points to make up. She failed, I believe, 2 rope climbs, and it just put her in a hole that she had to dig out of. The MACC mile, she did really well on, finishing 3rd, but she was ahead in 1st for most of that. And I believe she just got very dehydrated. I heard Tia Claire Toomey talking about how she was doing after that event. And I believe they went back to the hotel or back to wherever they were staying and got a bunch of electrolytes into her that she just hit a wall in that workout. And you could see it. She was just flying past everyone else until a point where she just slowed down so much. But they went back, regrouped. Like I said, she's also with Proven. She's got good people in her corner, and they helped her get back, helped her stay focused. And then she came back with a 2nd in the first event today and 11th on that 2nd event. I was a little nervous for her. She kind of fell off the pace near the end of that event, but did enough to get in. Although if you take a look at the point spread between 6th and 4th or 4th and 6th, you have 443, 442, and 441. So literally one placement for any of these athletes could have changed a lot of things. But Brooke was very emotional. Great to see her punch her ticket back to the CrossFit Games after being injured at the CrossFit Games or getting injured at the CrossFit Games last year. So proud of Brooke. Great to see. I actually used to go to a gym with Brook Wells and saw just how much work she put into her training. So it is awesome to see her getting to go back to the games, especially just 9 months after a freak injury. And she's going to get to go put the work in and get to show it at the games. I think it was interesting to see her in this event because the last time we saw her was at the games, and she looked better than she ever has before. She looked poised to maybe push for a podium spot and then had that injury happen. So she didn't look like she was quite to where she was last year, but I don't think we should expect that. She had a lot of time where she was still rehabbing an injury, and now she's finally starting to get back to being able to do everything that's only started in the last few months. So her training ramping up to semifinals has not been what a lot of other athletes have. So it's great to see her qualify, and it looks like she's finally able to do everything and really hit the ground. So I think that she'll be able to spend these next 2 months, 2.5 months, really getting ready for the games, and hopefully we'll have a good showing again. Don't know if she'll quite push for a podium like she did last year, but she's still, like I said, less than a year out from a major injury. She's on track, though, maybe to do that in 2023. So really awesome to see that. And we had, this is a rookie, I believe. She used to be a teen athlete, number 5, Rebecca Fuselier, I believe is how you say that. She just really pushed at the end. She didn't do well. She didn't do as well on that weightlifting event, but we've talked about how that can be an outlier. getting 200 pounds. So she wasn't in that top heat in day 2, but she had some really impressive finishes. She's got 2/4 and a third at the last event where she knew that she had to try to stay close to Kelly Clark, ideally beat her. She didn't quite do that, but stay really close and not let anyone in between so that she would have that 1 point over Kelly Clark. Kelly Clark was someone I was hoping to see in the top 5. Like I mentioned before, these people in 6 through 8, their season is still alive. They're going to that last chance qualifier. Kelly Clark is a NorCal woman. She's up here, I believe, in the Santa Cruz area near where I am. And I really want to see her punch her ticket. She's a little bit older. She's a master's athlete. She's 35, and she didn't choose to go to the master's route. She chose to go individual and missed it by just 1 point. I mean, that's seconds. 1 rep could have made a massive difference. So a little sad for her. But she still has a last chance qualifier. And I think for all these athletes that are in that last chance qualifier position, they really have to just stay focused because they have a good shot. They still have a shot. They're there. They're in it still. And I think that, especially that last chance qualifier being all virtual, your mental game is very important. You have to remember that you're still competing, that you can still be going to the CrossFit Games. So you just got to keep going and forget about the fact that you didn't make it the first time, because you still have a chance. And like I said, those people earned it just as much as anyone else who made it in first or just in the top 5 at a semifinal. Moving over to the teams, the top has no surprises. It looks like what you'd expect from a CrossFit Mayhem team. CrossFit Mayhem Independence winning the whole thing, taking 4 first place finishes. Didn't quite sweep this like we saw with CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, but still dominated. They won by 45 points, had very little chance of falling out of the first place position, even in the last event, which was their worst event of the day. But that event before that, off the grid, was very, very taxing. So I think we saw that a little bit on the final event, that some of these teams were just depleted from it. I think we really saw that from, I used to go to a COTA affiliate. So there's 2 COTAs here, COTA CrossFit Ironview Allegiance. That one's based in Colorado. They were in 3rd in that very taxing 25-minute off the grid event that came out first today. And I think they just were run into the ground by that event, because at the end, this last event, they finished 12th. They were struggling with the bar muscle ups. They were actually in a qualifying position. They were in 5th going into this final event, and they just looked fatigued and just looked like they couldn't get it together for that last event, which is really sad for me to see as somebody who's met some of the athletes on that team before and was rooting for them to make it. But always next year, finishing 8th at semifinals is still massively impressive. So I think they should hold their heads up high, but a little disappointed because I did go to a COTA affiliate for a little over a year when I lived in Oklahoma. Another COTA affiliate, though, COTA CrossFit United. I believe most of those athletes are out of Oklahoma City, but I'm not sure. They were in the top 5 most of the weekend. They finished 5th in that first event, 6th, 2nd, 7th, 7th, 3rd. So they were there in the top 5 competing the whole time and managed to stay in the top 5. They're pretty far up above that cut line. As you can see, the 5th place was 455, 445, and 445 for 7. So there was a tie at 6th and 7th there in points. But COTA CrossFit United was a good chunk of points out of that. So they were good. I was happy to see that. I know a COTA team made it to the games last year, so they get to go back this year. And I'm excited for them and excited to cheer them on as a former member of a COTA affiliate. Mine was in Tulsa, so it wasn't with these athletes, but still COTA United, they're all a family, and it was awesome to see them there last year, and it'll be awesome to see them back again this year. We mentioned Mayhem Independence. This is, I believe, what they would call like their second team, second best team after Freedom. And they did really well this weekend, easily punching their ticket, easily dominating the competition. It'll be exciting to see how they do. They've got some really good athletes on that team, people who have done stuff as individuals a bunch on the regional, semifinal, sanctional level. Alexis Johnson may have qualified for the games as an individual. I'm not entirely sure. But they have very good athletes on that team who are all very focused on being a team now, and I'm excited to see how they do. Angelo DiCicco, he was a teen athlete and has competed on the semifinals level as an adult. So they'll be exciting in Madison, and I believe CrossFit Mayhem is the first affiliate to have 3 teams make it to the games in 1 year. So that is awesome to see. I'm excited to see how all their teams do. Can they have 2 teams maybe fight for a podium spot? Never know. We'll have to find out. It'll be exciting to watch them. I don't know much about this CrossFit Schloofy Storm Squadron, but they have a really cool name. So there is definitely that. Camo Athletics CrossFit did well too. They won that last event. That's really what helped them out. And CrossFit United, like I've mentioned already. Then CrossFit Kilo too. CrossFit Kilo is a name that I believe we've seen quite a bit on the teams throughout the years going to the games. So awesome to see them back doing well. And the MACC all weekend was just fun to watch. I thought some of the team events were really fun to watch. And I feel like sometimes the teams don't get as much attention. Sometimes because it's confusing. There's so many things going on. But I think the MACC did a good job of broadcasting it and of programming it in a way that it was really interesting. And I enjoyed getting to watch the teams this weekend. I enjoyed all of the MACC coverage. I'm excited to see more semifinals next week. But the MACC was a really good one. And there was a lot of good stories. And while Danielle Brandon got to the top leaderboard and just stayed there, and Saxon Pancheck was at the top all weekend and managed to stay there, both those athletes were super impressive. The bottom of the qualifying positions, those 3rd through 8th on both the women's and men's side, stayed more interesting and exciting. So it was a really good weekend to watch, and I'm excited to see what we have next weekend. But it wasn't the only semifinal. We also had Fittest in Cape Town, which I did not get to see a lot of because it was just not, the broadcast stream wasn't as great. I don't believe we even had one on Monday. Well, I mean, on the first day, that was Friday. The first day of the week, they didn't have any live stream. They had a swim event, which I think is cool, but I don't believe they had that live streamed. But there were some surprises over here. I think Jason Smith was the person who was everyone's favorite going into this men's side. You can see he finished 2nd. I believe he was at the top of the leaderboard after day 1 and day 2, but I think he may have been tied for points after day 2, but was definitely at the top after day 1. And this Keelan Henry is going to be the representative from Fittest in Cape Town at the games. He's listed here at 82 kilos and I guess 1 centimeter in height. I have to imagine that's a mistake, but it's always cool to have fresh blood, and it'll be cool to see Kaylin there representing from Fittest in Cape Town. And he obviously did really well throughout the entire event. And the 3rd place on a swim event, a lot of times we see a lot of people struggle with swimming who are newer to the games environment, but I imagine he'll probably be decent at that event when we get to Madison and see what that event looks like. Over on the women's side, Michelle Morand, I believe, was the top athlete coming out of quarterfinals. Her and Michelle Bazinet, and she ended up winning it. So she was the favorite coming in and won it, and looks like she won it pretty handily if you look at the points. 552, second place is 512. 40 points is a good cushion and pretty dominant win. So good for Michelle. She'll be at the games. And then we have the teams. Our team representative is CrossFit Kumit Okavango. But they did really well. I mean, if you look at this, 1st, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd. But still, very dominant performance. They've got 3 first-place finishes. So we'll see how they do. I don't think I'd put them in the talks for any sort of top finish. The teams out of the African region don't seem to yet be as competitive as a lot of the teams we see in North America or Europe. So I just don't see that, even though they dominated here or did really well here, I just don't see them quite being in the conversation for anything at the games. But awesome to see them at the games. Awesome to have more representation from different groups. So it'll be exciting to watch. Good weekend. We only had 2 semifinals. Next weekend, we will have 3 semifinals, or 2 again next weekend, and 3 the last weekend. So it'll be exciting to get to keep an eye on all of this. It's been fun watching all of the semifinals this weekend. I really love getting to do this and getting to talk about them all with you. If you guys have any comments or anything you want to talk about regards to semifinals, I know we also had those age group athletes competing this weekend. We could take a look at that real quick. I have a couple minutes. Let's see if we just want to take a look. We had some age groups, not all age groups, but we did have a couple who were competing this weekend in the younger age groups. So let's see if I can find that for you here. But I've really enjoyed all of these semifinals all weekend and getting to watch all of them. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. So we'll take a look at that leaderboard for some of the younger age group qualifiers. So we've got women overall for 35 to 39. I would imagine these are not locked in yet because I think these all have to be verified. It's different than like the semifinals where they have in-person judging and can easily just say no rep and things like that. We have right now just all the groups here, all the names, but these could change wildly as things are verified by CrossFit. So if you take a look, you can see we've got Kelly Jackson in 10th. I believe she's went to the games as an individual before, so it could be cool to see her back at the games. Haley Murillo is the name on the women's side. China Cho, she's competed as an individual at the games before, as an individual in the main division, and also on a team with Mayhem. So we've got some interesting names out of the women's 35 to 39 division. Then going to the men's 35-39 division, we have Sam Dancer in first. I know that Sam went into this year kind of calling his shot. He was like, I want to win the 35 to 39 Masters division. And it looks like he may have won it in the semifinals level of it. So awesome for Sam. Be cool to see him back competing at the games level again. He's competed at the games before as an individual, before he was a master, and I believe as a team too. So he's got a lot of game experience. Paul Tremblay is another name. He's been in the games before as an individual. I didn't realize he had aged up to being a master, but it looks like that's where he is. And he finished 4th tentatively, depending on all the verification that has to be done. But he might be back at the games too. So some awesome athletes. Like it's really interesting starting to see some of these athletes who used to be just individual athletes now going to the age groups, and we'll see how they all dominate there. This is the men's 40 to 44 so far. I don't know a ton of these names, but it would be the top 10 that go to the games. So you can take a look at that there. If anyone in the comments knows anything about them and wants to tell me why I should pay attention to any of them, that would be awesome. Justin King looks like he is the winner of that division tentatively. Again, remember, we don't have these locked in just yet. On the women's side in the 40 to 44, I actually do know a couple more of these names. Jen Ryan, I believe she's with in San Diego with CrossFit Invictus. She finished 3rd. I believe she's been on the Invictus team before too. So now she wants to do masters and as an individual. That's awesome to see. Kelly Friel, I've definitely seen that name before. She finished 2nd. Rebecca Voigt Miller, big name on the women's side. For years, she competed as an individual, I believe, like 10 times at the games. And it looks like now she's going the master's route. I believe she did before as well. But awesome to see Rebecca just continuously being involved in the CrossFit community. She's been a staple for so long and just continues to be. Sam Briggs, she was our 2013 champ in the individual division, and now she is 40. I thought she was going to compete at strength and depth, but it appears she's not and decided to go the master's route. So awesome to see Sam back at the games. She competed just as recently as last year in the individual division, and now she's going the master's route. Take a look at the men's 40 to 44. No, we already did that. Men's 45 to 49. Take a look at this list. Again, as we get a little bit older, I don't think I know as many of these athletes because they never really competed in the individual division, but the top 10 of these men, super fit, I'm sure, and could be there at at the games, depending on how all of this shakes out after everything's verified. Here's the women. And I'm not sure where we ended. Oh, yep, it was 50-54 also went. And this is what that looks like for the men. And this is the women. If you want to take a look, if anyone knows any of these people, let me know. I'm sure they're all super fit and really great. I believe the 55 plus is going next week. Nope, they're going this week. So here's 55 plus for the men. And here's the 55 plus for the women. All super strong, amazing athletes. I know the 60 plus is going next week because we have a woman at our gym who is going to be a part of that. And she's just kind of been prepping and is not competing this weekend. So they did not go just yet. But it has been fun talking about all of this. I'm going to have to wrap this up so I can head to work. But semifinals has been a great experience for me. I've enjoyed watching all of it. I've enjoyed talking to all of you about it. Please leave a comment if you have anything to tell me about it. It's been awesome to get to watch all the semifinals and been awesome to have this platform to really connect with people about them. I'm going to do more semifinals content throughout the week. We'll have a preview, I believe, on Thursday, and then I'll wrap it up like this on Sunday again after we have Granite Games coming up this week. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. I wouldn't want you to miss it. I appreciate all of you for being here, and give this video a like if you enjoyed watching it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for a little bit this afternoon, and I will see you in the next one.